This is the first time I've done this presentation, so again, as I mentioned earlier, I feel a little like an imposter and also a little nervous, so I'm hoping you'll be with me. Show some love. All right, good. Whew. All right, so this is going to come around again, but don't go crazy. I promise the slide will come back, and this will give you all the slides that you'll ever need. All right, but I want to start by playing this little video for you. This was done by Harvard's MIT Futures Lab, I believe. So shout things out if you see them changing. What do you see? Is that too fast? So what do you think? What do you remember? Do you remember if that, whoops, I'm going to stop it. Do you remember those days? Do our kids remember those days? Do you think they have a tool for all of those things? For some, I think. I mean, I don't think they need a Rolodex anymore. They certainly have replaced their Rolodex effectively. But over the course of this session, what I want to do is think about the tools that were on that desk and what has replaced them and what really appropriately and adequately replaces them, and how we can get kids to think about tools and their affordances in a more thoughtful way. So let's get started. So today we're talking about app smashing, and the kind of composite definition is a process of using multiple applications together in order to complete complex tasks or projects. I'm going to play Robin Montgomery. I like Robin Montgomery's definition, which demonstrates as it defines.
Illuminated iPads with Robin Montgomery. App smashing! Do you ever wonder how I make these movies? Do you know what app smashing means? I'll tell you what app smashing means, and I'll give you a brief overview of how these movies are made. First of all, I try to keep my movies short. You don't want to watch for even 10 minutes, you'd get bored. So I start with my ideas and my script. I write out my script, like in the background. Then I think about my backgrounds. I try to make my own images either with a drawing app like Procreate or with screenshots. Sometimes I use Keynote for my background. Then I make my telegami following my script. I might need several different backgrounds and several different telegamis. Each one gets saved to the camera roll. Once the telegami is made, I'll make my intro in VideoScribe. Sometimes I reuse parts of older VideoScribes.
So, Guy Kalowiak, around 2013, he coined the phrase app smashing, and so it's been attributed to him for a long time. And he has given us some demonstrations and some ideas on how to do it. Among the things he says that are important about app smashing is that you need apps that allow you to save your work to the camera roll, making it easy to smash content among your apps. And you also need the ability to save off your device. So a lot of people have been thinking about app smashing and kind of looking at models. For me, I have a private agenda, which I hope doesn't offend you, but I really believe librarians can play an important role in curating apps in finding really solid apps for classroom teachers and sharing them on dashboards and palettes and working with classroom teachers together to do this stuff more effectively, because this can be a lot of work. And so those are my little biases. So I think that app smashing kind of fits in with a number of literacies, and the big one is what people are beginning to call tool literacy. So I want to give you a few tool literacy metaphors. If you went to my session this morning, you'll see this, and this is relevant here as well. So I'm just gonna
Gene, we have a situation.
sit through it again if you've seen it.
We had a CO2 filter problem on the lunar module,
5 filters on the limb.
which were meant for 2 guys for a day and a half. So I told the doc,
They're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15 and you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia.
What about the scrubbers on the command module?
They take square cartridges.
The ones on the limb are round.
Tell me this isn't a government operation.
It just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at.
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Rapidly.
Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
Better get some coffee going, too, someone.
So we are in kind of the opposite position from the crew in Apollo 13. We have an awful lot of choices to make things work, and very often we rely on the stuff that we've got on the table. Another thing that really resonated with me, not this slide, but the other, is that do our kids know how to really solve problems, or are we telling them how to use the stuff on the table, right? And so can your kids, given an array of materials, figure out a way to fit a square peg into a round hole, or to figure out how to get the round peg? I'm not sure I said that right. So think about that as a metaphor. Let's also think about orchestrating. How can we make the musical instruments work nicely together as a conductor to make beautiful music? Or this was something that was shared at South by Southwest by Jane McGonigal. Can we pull together just the most delicious combination of Jelly Belly flavors to make something like a banana split or a tiramisu or tres leches cake? And that this is a bit of an art, I think. Some folks call this recipes or cookbook making when we smash apps together. And there's a little, and as I said, I hope you will accept the recipe metaphor and share a recipe on this Padlet. However, there are folks who really resist the recipe metaphor because it tells you what you need to use in what proportion. And I'm not sure that is the best metaphor. So the way I think about app smashing is it's almost an anti-worksheet activity. It's not really a recipe. So it used to be when we started our time with our students during one of the blocks at the high school, we might say, go to page 301 and do this. Or we'd say, log into VoiceThread, because it might have been the only tool we had, and create a story about this. But I don't think that's the way we need to operate anymore. So I started generating a number of ideas about why we might need to smash apps. And I really think it's deeper and more creative than just messing around with the stuff that we have available. And if we really think about it, we're teaching kids some very new skills, or skills translated for new environments. What this might be, if we don't tell them what to do and don't give them all the pieces, or tell them which specific pieces to use, is we might inspire creative individual thinking and innovation. We might build an understanding that tools need to be evaluated and tested for their affordances and their constraints. We might see more individual products of learning. We might have our students understand app categories, genres, and again, affordances. We might inspire play, experimentation, and discovery. We might inspire our kids as we're looking at that desk to understand new notions of what workflow can look like in this new age. We might engage learners to think about workflow as a process. I hope we inspire learners to build their own workflow dashboards and manage their information lives, to begin to really feel agency and problem solving, to recognize that the whole is often greater than the sum of its parts, that one app or platform on its own may not magically serve every need, to push for the creation of seriously original work in ways never before possible. Did I miss anything? Yes. That's a really good answer. It is fun. And creativity like that can be a lot of fun. Thanks. So when I think about smashing apps, I really think that we often think narrowly about just using what's portable and mobile, but very often I can do the same stuff across my devices. So I might be able to do all of this stuff on my iPad, but if my desktop is here, it might be easier for me to work and then move things on the cloud around my camera roll. So I don't want us to feel like we're restricted to our iPad. So when the kids go home, if the cart's still at school, they can continue to work across platforms through the cloud. One of my favorite quotes is by Maslow, and I heard somebody else attribute it to themselves this morning, so it was kind of funny. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to treat everything as if it were a nail. So I think that we really have to have an awareness of what's out there. I want to just ask you a question, and this is one I asked my graduate students a little while back. Describe one way you've used something in a way when it wasn't meant, the way it wasn't meant to be used to solve a problem. Can you think of a product that was never intended for education? Well, Microsoft Office, Google Docs, not initially, but we've all made it work for education. So we're looking at products for what they can do, their affordances. I promise I'll get to some of these tools in a bit. So what affordances are all the possible ways a tool can be used by an individual in a particular context. Affordances change with the person using them. There are real or perceived affordances. An affordance is a quality of an object or an environment that allows an individual to perform an action. They are affected by our attitudes and beliefs. And so just look at tools for what they might do, not for what the description tells us that they can do. Because I know that you guys have been very creative with trash cans and hangers, and I have a feeling you're also creative with apps. I'm going to skip this definition, but Don Norman is somebody who was early involved in the user experience design movement, and he explains that little that foam thing could be used as a chair, or it could be used to be thrown at somebody. It has many affordances when you start thinking about how it might be used, and then that multiplies when you think about how it might be used in conjunction with other things, like a paperclip, perhaps. So what we're doing in some ways is kind of presenting the possibilities. And Greg I should have gotten this straight before I started talking to you, Kolowiak, has put together a number of ideas for us. And this is his Smash App Pack. These are the tools he uses most often. And we'll kind of deconstruct that in a minute. But I want you to know all these slides are up there. And this is on ThingLink. So if you open this slide and you click on the link, all of these will open to the actual app on the App Store. So this is a list by Diana Brenner. And what she's done is she's used a listly. This is in itself app smashing, because she's brought the app smashing list, which is an app smashing thing to begin with, into her listly. And these are her top 20 tools for app smashing. I'm going to attempt to put these in categories and give you some ideas of when you might think of using which, but I want you to recognize that these categories I'm inventing are porous, and other people have invented categories too, and I think they don't hold up all the time. But let's get started. So first, you've got your utility players. This is the stuff that you use. This is not the content. This is not the tool, although they are tools. This is the stuff that you have to rely on to move the other stuff around. So you need to be able to store what you create, whether it's an image or a video, in your camera roll, and you need your camera. And if it's a video and it's large, you may want to store it in YouTube, and then store it in YouTube and bring it back and do something else with it. Some of you might use AirDrop, and some of you might use Dropbox. But you're going to need to use some of these in order to smash apps effectively. There's the platforms now. This is just a small array, and I'm going to show you many more, of the tools in which you do your preliminary making. So there's the stuff that you use as your utilities, the stuff that you use to make something. Shout out one that you know and love from this list. Anybody have one? Yeah. No? WeVideo. Why do you love WeVideo? It's free and collaborative, right? Collaborative. So WeMovie should be one of the ones that I would think would be in an K-12 toolbox for sure. Any others that you love? Okay, we'll look at some of these more carefully later, but these are just some of that middle category of stuff. And PicMonkey lovers? This is, oh my God, promise me you'll try PicMonkey tomorrow. If we have time, I'll do some demos on that. But PicMonkey allows you to do also wonderful things with images. And most of these are available both as apps and as desktop applications. But PicMonkey also has holiday themes and all sorts of stuff, and all sorts of filters and layers and texts, and it's just beautiful. And if you buy the premium version, okay, if there are any young women in this audience who are like, it allows you to make yourself thinner, and you can do plastic surgery. It's my secret for my profile photos. All right, so anyway, these are just some of the other players. But here's what I really do. I categorize these. I behave like a librarian with these apps. And this is my edge shelf. It's my dashboard. And I can actually go in and show you what this looks like if the internet's working well. And I really think as a teacher or a librarian, you need to have some dashboards, because there's no way you're going to remember these. And if you don't remember them, you're probably not going to pick the very best tool for the task. For instance, we're not going to use this in app smashing necessarily, but I have a whole bunch of things for class response, my reference, and I think reference content is something often overlooked in app smashing. What are you going to do if you have no content, if you're not learning anything, if you're not creating new knowledge? But I've got my timelining tools, my presentation tools. Is there anybody here who uses Edge Shelf? Yeah? Do you like it? So I like it especially for professional development, because, and I'll show you 2 reasons I like it. Adobe Voice is one of my favorite tools for making a digital story, and it's free, and it's got the lowest learning curve of nearly any product I've ever seen. But when you click on it, you get a review, you get a video, you get tools that are like it, and you can immediately say, I'm going to add this tool to my shelf. So right from here, you can either add it to your shelf or go directly to, in this case, the App Store. The other thing that you can do with this, and this is great for professional development because you don't necessarily want everybody to immediately download the app. You want to actually demonstrate it. And so if you have a little board like this or a shelf, you can have teachers go through it, and these are collaborative boards, so you can get the whole second grade to build a shelf, and then you can share this with students. And what's that? You can embed your shelf anywhere, as long as you get the embed code. So let's just look at this. Right here is your embed code. So you can put this code, if you hit HTML, you put this code anywhere you want it to live, and then the shelf shows up. But wait, there's more. And so the other thing you can do is print the list. Say right now we're in the presentation list. I can give you a list to print or not print with all the URLs. And these URLs will take you to, if it's a website, it'll take you to the website. If it's an app, it'll take you to the Google Play Store or iPhone or iPad. Whatever it is you have, it'll lead you to the right place. And guess what? There's more. And so for app smashing, this is especially useful. It'll actually print the list, and you can create as many of these. You can make much smaller collections or much smaller shelves. So it'll also show you the list with the QR codes. And the QR codes are for the website or the App Store or the Chrome Store or whatever. So you can actually take this, print it, cut it up in pieces, give the kids bookmarks, put that on the tables, and then the kids can immediately get the apps that they need, or if you haven't set it up in advance. So there's the stuff, there's the utility stuff, there's the stuff that we're making things in, and then the thing I was thinking about, I don't know what to call this, it's the stuff like, what will it be when it grows up? And so will it be a book, an ebook? Will it be an interactive poster? Will it be a movie? And so you need to have, I guess the other way to think about it is a parking lot. Where is this stuff going to eventually live? And so these are the tools that I use most often to make the final product, to show people, to share with people. This is the element of app smashing, which is hosting, sharing, or publishing to the web. So let's look at some examples. Okay, this is Andy Plemons. This happened just recently. Andy Plemons is a second grade, well, he's an elementary librarian in North Carolina. And so for him, this was the kind of resting place of all this stuff. But what Andy decided to do was he wanted to celebrate Black History Month by having the students invent a Peace Prize contest. And so what they did was they did their biography project, the typical biography project, and then they used a product called FlipGrid. Anybody use FlipGrid? It's like one of my favorites. I'll show it to you in a minute. A product like FlipGrid, and they had the students did art about their real life person, and then they gave their argument for why that person should win the prize. These were all kind of organized in a row when they were in FlipGrid. Then he took the embed code from each of the FlipGrid individual videos. It's such an easy video production thing. And the kids embedded those videos individually in a s'more. They worked in teams. And a s'more is a poster maker, right? Should I show you? I really should show you this, because and the thing is, what happens is this stuff becomes so easy because you don't really think you're going into 5 or 6 different products to make this, but it really is very powerful. So notice a couple of things. The kids actually designed, with their 3D printer, they designed the Peace Prize medals. So this is all a very integrated product. Then they researched 6 people from history using a product called Pebble Go, which is a perfect second grade database. And I hope some of you get second grade databases, right? Then they developed the criteria for the Peace Prize, and then they wrote a persuasive piece, and then they created a piece of art, and then they recorded their writing using FlipGrid, and they were holding their art. And then they Skyped with the creators of Pebble Go to learn about their product. Then they put the poster out. I'm trying to find the poster. Does anybody see the link to the poster? One more second. I thought I had this all worked out. Here it is. Okay, so here's the some more. So Andy's writing about this in his blog. The kids are working to prepare this in this poster, and a s'more is probably the easiest way to house something. It's a very modular poster. It's free. You can buy the premium version, but it's pretty miraculous. And it's so. How many of you are s'more users? I think that Monday you're going to the rest of you are going to just fall in love with this. It's just beautiful. I use this for everything. But in this case, Andy, this is after, but he announced the winner. He put the winner in later. But Ruby Bridges was actually the winner. And Ruby's video, if I can get to it, is one of those FlipGrid videos. Okay, let's click here. Okay, so this is FlipGrid. And so what FlipGrid is if I were to record this, and I probably could, but I won't, I agree to the terms of use. I use this with my graduate students to discuss anything. Instead of a threaded discussion, I create a prompt, and my graduate students use it. So I just agree to the terms. There's one for education, so you don't have to worry. I'm going to hit allow from my mic. What I would do is click that plus sign. It would give me 90 seconds to record. I could record either myself, or I could hold my painting of my character in front of me. It would say, do you like what you've got? Or I could, if I don't, I can re-record. And what you can do with this is send this out into the world. And so I've actually used this for research. I've asked provocative research questions, and then I've used this for qualitative data analysis. But what you can do, what Andy did in September, was he asked people all over the world, he put this out on Twitter, he asked people all over the world to tell his second grade students what 9/11 was like because they didn't live through it. He got people all over the world to tell 90-second stories, and he gathered them together in, let's think of this as an anthology. He could take the individual pieces of these videos and embed them anywhere, or he could take the whole thing and embed it somewhere. But this is one of the components, and I wish I could get back to the rest of this. So all of these FlipGrids are embedded in the some more. And in the some more was also a map, and I don't see it here right now, but you saw it on Andy's site. There was also a map, and there was also a Google Doc so people could vote. And the voting is closed now. So he could actually figure out the reach of the project all over the world, and also and crowdsource the vote. You see, there you go. And the people from FlipGrid came from Michigan. They visited me as well. I love these people. They dressed as minions, and they awarded the children with their medals. But the story, like the big story here was not that, but yeah, we were talking about app smashing. But it was so instinctive for Andy to do that using these very easy tools. And what a sticky project for the second graders. And what they're seeing is meaningful workflow, making good choices, not just like dealing with the stuff that was thrown on the desk. I need to promote something, I want world appeal. How will I get data from the people out there? How will I present it attractively? How can I tell my story with argument in a way that expresses my voice? So all those decisions were made. They were made in probably a matter of minutes, but they were thoughtful, and the kids were part of that. There's a few people that, if you're interested in app smashing, that are really important to follow. And one of them is Megan Zsigmond. And again, here is a similar kind of story. This is a some more as well. On this some more, she's embedded a telegami with all sorts of green screen stuff going on in the back, where she tells a story about how to smash apps. And not only that, she's embedded the links to the App Store and all that stuff within the some more. And so I highly recommend you following her. And this is one of her projects I was hoping to share with you. Okay, so again, we've got a some more, I think, and she's embedded all of these examples of app smashing here. And the one I liked best was this turkey project.
Turkey facts by Mrs. Zegg's class. Turkeys lay eggs on the ground. Turkeys are compost. Boy turkey poop looks like a drain. Girl turkeys have pile poop. Hens. Turkeys can fly. Turkeys roost in trees. When turkeys are excited, their snoot hangs down.
All right, I think that's enough. But can anybody identify it or read what Megan used? She used chat. How many of you are Chatterpix users? I love that. Can you imagine doing something with high school with Chatterpix? One of the things I did when we were studying Gettysburg was I used images of the generals, and I embedded them next to each other to talk about their different strategies during the battle. It's a little different from the turkey situation, but I used Voki for that and a couple of other things for that as well. But so what Chatterpix, Shadow Puppet, all of these, and there was the scanner for scanning all of the students' artwork, and then the post-production work was done in iMovie, and then it was embedded in a some more. So let's move a little faster because I want to do some activities. Another one that I think is really important to follow, if you think of ThingLink as that parking lot or that where you want to be when you grow up, Susan Oxnevard, anybody a follower of hers? Yeah. She does these challenges with ThingLink, and almost all of these challenges have to do with app smashing. And she's done brilliant work with maps, and there's a very basic elementary example in there. And I'm not going to have time to show you all of these, but I just think if ThingLink is a product that you love, imagine, I was talking about this morning, imagine the students are studying something geographical, right? So they're taking a trip to Paris. Have them hyperlink the map of Paris with the sites that they want to see, creating videos about it. ThingLink is now a product that will do two other things beyond the print or beyond the visual. It now allows you to hyperlink video. So I want you to think about what you would do with hyperlinked video that you can stop and take to a Wikipedia definition or a Google map, video that allows you to bring another video in. Could you create a choose your own adventure with that? There's a lot of opportunities. We can annotate video in new ways. One of the things I had my high school students do was they were looking at TED Talks, not for the content, but to critique the speaker, because we were looking at getting ready for their final speeches, presenting their research. And so we had one group critique a speaker for body language, another for rhetorical devices, another for just the structure of the speech itself, and they were hyperlinking. Here's a transition. Here's where here's the clincher, and so that stuff is really interesting. And you can also bring in definitions, so you can bring up pop-up text, and you can mash stuff over the TED Talk. This is I was using a Mozilla Popcorn Maker, which Mozilla is not keeping out there anymore, but you can use ThingLink's video now. And I have a blog post somewhere in this that talks about how you can mash things with video and video annotation. The whole category of tools is called video annotators. I'm not going to show you this whole one, but this is from Greg himself, and he's done a few examples. And what he's done is he's mashed up a bunch of apps to create, do you know those RSA-style videos like Sir Kenneth Robinson's with the drawings and stuff for speeches? So he shows you how to mash a few apps, a few drawing apps, and iMovie and a couple of other things to create something like that. These are, again, back in Samora. Samora is the host, and I mentioned this yesterday. My friend Shannon Miller, right before the Christmas holiday, created a Samora that was built on all sorts of apps, and you can see Telegami in here, but you can see ChatterPix in here. She gave the kids, each day she gave them a different fun thing to do, mashing up all the apps that she thought would be fun to use. And the parents were thrilled that they got this sort of thing for the holiday break. If you looked at my copyright-friendly toolkit, it is a complete mashup of all sorts of videos and titling and some of my own work. And so that became my instructional tool that lived in Samora. Another really good listing of examples, and I want to get to your stuff, so I won't go into them. Laura Moore has put together a really fabulous Pinterest board of all sorts of examples. And it's incredibly rich. Just back to the theoretical for a minute. A number of people have described the way I was thinking about those tools in a more sophisticated way. So Tom March described this as an AMT model, the stuff that you use for acquisition, the stuff that you use for meaning and making, and the stuff that you use for transfer as that parking lot kind of thing. So if you are helping a school pull this together, you may need to create these structures or scaffolds for teachers to think about this. When Shannon and I did a talk on this a little while ago, we kind of came up with this acronym SMASH, the stuff that you need to seek and synthesize, the stuff that you make with, and the stuff that you house or host with. So this is my big index. I showed you one of them. So I actually do it in two places. I do it in EdShelf, but I also have this master index, and that's in Symbaloo. And so this is really where I go to. And some of the stuff behind this actually leads me, this is also a mashup. So in some cases, if I click on one of those tiles, it will take me to my edge shelf rather than another Symbaloo. So this is a whole bunch of linked up Symbaloos and edge shelves. And I've created the buttons for them in Canva and PicMonkey so they would be cute, because that's important. And I can give this address, or I can embed this for my students on any pages I create, and then they have all these tools, and they can choose what they want to use. So they know a panoply of choices for digital storytelling or timelining. And I think the kids are not going to be able to do this on their own. There's a difference between throwing stuff on the table and kind of creating genres of tools. This is when you peek inside. When you click inside my playing with images, think about it as a palette. When you click inside that, you see all of this wonderful stuff. So on the top you see, these are all my word cloud makers. And then these are all my font finders, because I love fonts. And these are the things I use to make covers for Facebook pages and Pinterest boards. And these are this is really beautiful. PixArt, a new app, love it. Will make any image on your phone or your iPad more beautiful. Voki is a great talking avatar tool. So this is just my image stuff. And this is Shannon's stuff, and she's taken a different approach. She created one of these to smash apps for each grade and for various different activities. So for the first grade, and I was talking about this earlier today, or for the curation workshop, she starts out with giving them, in first grade, there's only 2 or 3 tiles in September. And as they introduce tools and learn how to use them and move through the semester or the year, she builds that. And then they know where their book material, their database material is, where their creation material is, and then the first graders are actually able to smash apps on their own because they have a bit of a menu there for them to work with. Cathy Schrock is amazing. She's a good friend of mine, and she just does everything better than anybody else can do. So she's created all of this stuff around iPads and app smashing, and she's done this around the Bloom's Revised Taxonomy. And so you can see that these are organized, some of the tools we've talked about today, organized according to Bloom's. And she's got them, and the reason there's a number of them are some of them are Android, and some of them are iPad, and some of them are Windows, and you can link to Cathy's work too. Steve Banbury, sorry I'm going on and on, has another model called Absorption, Creation, and Presentation, and he thinks of it as with a chemistry kind of metaphor. And down here are some very simple app smashes with just 2 elements combining. And here's a blow up of some of this is Richard Wells. Again, these are great models to use. And this one is Richard Pepperell. These are posters he puts on the wall. So he has, each one of these is about an app, and he puts them all over the wall so the kids can walk around and then decide which is the one that I need most. And he keeps adding to them. And I think these posters are available for download so you can use them too. So it's possible that this is not only an individual experience, but it could be a collaborative experience. The kids could divide into groups and decide who's going to do which part of the smash. This little guy on the left could be the guy who builds the thing in Comic Life, and then the guy in the middle could be doing an explain everything video that might be added to it afterwards. And this is ThingLink, so she might be gathering the elements from everybody. Actually, the Comic Life might be in the ThingLink, and then this young lady might be actually putting the hyperlinks that go to the Explain Everything video into the Comic Life poster that was dragged into ThingLink. Thank you for your help there. I'm losing it. And so, and then think about just how you might talk to kids about the possible combinations they could make together. Or kids could build their own toolkit and have an individual experience. So I'm going to skip through this because I want to get to your stuff, but I do want to point to this one. This is Naomi Bates from Texas. Her book trailer resources. This is another dashboard where she shares where you get copyright-friendly images, where you get your image editors, where you get your background sound, everything you need in a toolkit for making book trailers, for app smashing a book trailer. Google Drive is your friend, as we mentioned. And briefly, where do you get reviews so you know what to choose for these things? EdShelf has those wonderful reviews. This is a new one called Participate Learning, where you can create collections collaboratively. Fabulous. And of course, Common Site Graphite allows you to build boards in Common Site Graphite. But I'm going to take one more little side trip because I want to show you this one. App smashing is not just for kids, as you already know. You can smash a lesson. And so this is what, this creates a template for a traditional lesson. I'm going to take a minute, it's really short.
Technology can be great for student learning, but as a teacher, you might feel a little overwhelmed. These days, you're being asked to do everything you've always done. Oh, and use new hardware, manage student devices, modify your teaching, and figure out how all of this fits your lesson's objectives and goals. How can you keep your head above water? Graphite's lesson flows offer you an interactive framework to flow digital tools throughout your existing lessons. Start with the familiar 5-part lesson plan. Lesson flows provide scaffolding that helps you think with purpose about where, why, and how you are integrating digital tools for learning. From the hook in the beginning to the wrap-up at the end, you can integrate digital tools that help meet your learning objectives. So once you discover a great tool on Graphite, ask yourself where you can align the tool to your lesson plan and place it accordingly. Consider why different parts of your lesson could benefit from technology. What are you trying to achieve? Finally, think about how you will integrate the tool. How are you enhancing or redefining the activity? And that's it, a seamless experience. You can save and share your lesson flows within Graphite. So use lesson flows to help you harness the sea of digital tools in practical and authentic ways.
So what that looks like, if I'm looking at, this is an economics lesson, a math lesson actually, on the growth of Starbucks, and this teacher has put together the standards you just drag in. He's done the hook with a Kahoot poll. He's used poll everywhere. He's integrated reference sources like Merriam-Webster Dictionary and Desmos Calculator. The individual work is done into Google Drive, and he's done a wrap-up using Socrative and Google Drive. And so this is an example of app smashing in terms of instructional design. I just wanted you to, again, be aware of all of the stuff that's coming up. Apps and all sorts of stuff are going to be part of the open education, Go Open movement, and there's going to be more than you can ever figure out what to do with, so you're going to need some strategies. Of course, all of this would be easier if you had librarians. All right, so time went much faster than I thought, so we're out of time, but I wanted to share with you that all those resources I've listed here, and you can go explore and figure out what might work best as a strategy for your environment. There's lots of resources. These are some of mine. And then the whole presentation is here under tinyurl.com/appsmashing2016. And I wish we had more time to kind of play a little bit, but thank you guys. I appreciate it.